Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to episode 1 of 7 of The Reformed Gamers, the show all about theology, video games, singing loud for all to hear, and anything else that we can think of. I'm your elf host, Logan.
And I am his co-host, Adam.
Adam, dear listeners, Christmas is soon. Merry Christmas. Happy Christmas from us here at The Reformed Gamers. So I learned something this past week, Adam.
Okay. Teach me.
I learned that in 2017, there are still people out in the world who have not seen the movie Elf. Shocking.
Would you consider that one of your favorites? I mean, I guess this is a mini topic. What's one of your favorite Christmas movies? Is Elf one of them?
I think my favorite Christmas movie is Batman Returns. I'm kind of joking when I say that, but I'm also kind of not joking.
Okay.
The thing about Elf is when I first watched it, I thought it was the most funniest thing I'd ever seen, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I realized that every year that I watch it, I slowly find myself saying about halfway, 45 minutes into the movie going, is this over yet? Is it still going?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, like it's kind of lost some of that humor, that luster that it once had, at least in my eyes. So I don't know, man. I still really enjoy A Christmas Story, even though I've seen it like a bazillion times. It's just one that honestly never really gets old to me. I always think it's funny. The Red Ryder BB gun, you'll shoot your eye out, kid, all that jazz, you know. The dad gets
I like Elf. It's definitely up there on one of my favorites. I was always a bigger fan of Home Alone 2 than Home Alone 1. A lot of people aren't kind of like that, but just the whole New York stuff, really, I like that. It's a good one.
That is a good one.
This is pretty often conversation around the Christmas season, and where I know I'm fighting a losing battle, but I don't care.
Okay.
So there's an old school movie, and it has a pretty significant Christmas scene in it. It's definitely not a Christmas movie. Okay. Well, I fight that it is a Christmas movie. Most people would say it's not. But I'm like, there's a big Christmas scene in The Swiss Family Robinsons. Have you ever seen The Swiss Family Robinsons?
I was not expecting you to bring that up.
Probably 4 or 5 years ago, before I went overseas, I was watching TV at my dad's house by myself, and on some random channel at about midnight on Christmas Eve, they were showing The Swiss Family Robinsons. And so ever since that moment, I have considered it a Christmas movie to myself. And so Hannah says I'm stupid, and so does everyone else I talk to. But that's like a Christmas movie in my heart. So if you've seen Swiss Family Robinsons and you're like me, and first of all, it's just a great movie. It's a classic.
Sure,
they've got everything: animals, pirates, kidnapping, dancing. There's random races or someone's riding an ostrich. Like, can it get any better? Yes, but it's still pretty good. So that's one. But probably one of my favorites is old school, just The Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
Ooh,
it's a good one.
That is a good one.
It's a good Christmas movie. It's got all of the features: a fat Santa, elves, cookies, milk, present. Tim Allen. That's probably one of my favorites. And then when I was a kid, my big one was Ernest Saves Christmas.
Ooh, yeah, that's a classic too.
But I haven't seen it in a long time. Let me
ask you this question. Does Nightmare Before Christmas count as a Christmas movie or a Halloween movie?
I don't like those movies, and so I don't think I've ever seen them. I hate the art style.
Okay.
They just seemed a little creepy to me growing up.
That's fair.
I think it would be considered. That's a tough one. I think
it's
it
got
can
Christmas in the title, but it's all Halloween
almost
themed.
Be both of them. I would say probably most people would say Halloween. Yeah, but it does have Christmas in it, so that's. Let us know, dear listeners, because again, I have no idea.
I don't either. You know, you bring up Tim Allen, and it made me think of someone who is totally not like Tim Allen at all. But there was this Christmas movie with Michael Keaton where he turns into a snowman, and I think it's called Jack Frost.
Yeah.
Is that a real movie? That
is a real movie. Okay. It was a very B-level crappy movie, but yeah.
Not good, yeah. It was not good. It's funny though because there's also a horror movie about a guy that becomes a killer snowman, and it has the same title. And I remember when I was younger, I would often get those two confused, and I almost watched the horror movie on several occasions, and that was not good.
You know, my wife's favorite movie is starring your good friend Arnold.
Oh,
Jingle All the Way.
Man.
She loves Jingle. She made me watch it like right after we first got married because I had never seen it. And every year she's like trying to always figure out a time when we're gonna squeeze it in.
I cannot believe I forgot about that movie.
Jamie!
Put that cookie down. What are you doing? So good, man. Oh,
it's not the booster.
It's turbo time.
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a good movie. You know what? No, I think I can't really say it's my favorite if I forgot about it, but
classic. It's a good
classic,
one,
man. It's a good one. There's just so many good Christmas movies, man. Oh, so good. Anyway, dear listeners, you let us know what your favorite Christmas movie is in the comment section if you're listening to this on YouTube, or on Twitter at TRG Podcast, or in the Facebook group. But dear listeners, I don't know where 2017 went. It went by fast, and it's almost over.
Crazy.
And so that means that we're getting close to our 3-year anniversary of the Reformed Gamers. Like, that's insane. That's like
we are full-grown toddlers at this point.
We are. We got through our terrible twos.
Yep.
And now we're going to get to a point where we're going to have actual conversations and
put words together in sentences, full sentences.
And hopefully
words are still pretty hard, but we're getting there.
We're doing significantly better at this point.
Yeah, no doubt.
Oh man. But anyway, dear listeners, I just want to give you all a quick kind of look down the road, so to speak, of what to expect over the next few weeks, because after this episode, this will be the last episode of December. Now, kind of what we'll be doing going forward, we'll still be uploading videos onto YouTube during our breaks. I mean, if you're subscribed to YouTube and you hit the bell icon, you'll still get notifications every week, every Monday and Wednesday. You'll get a new episode, and you will get a new episode of TRG Plays Horizon: The Frozen Wilds. For those that are subscribed and have been supporting that content, thank you so much for that. Now, the week after this episode comes out on the YouTube channel, we've got the Kingdom Hearts episode going back up for those that missed out on it. And I haven't decided what episode we're going to put up after that. We may just put up our, I don't know. We'll find out.
We've got BioShock episodes we could put up. Those are some good ones.
Yeah.
We did one on the Talos Principle, I think.
No, we just talked about it a couple times.
That game's cheap right now on PSN, by the way. If listeners are wanting to get in on it, I think it's like $10 maybe.
That's it?
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Decent price.
It's not bad. PlayStation's having a pretty good sale right now.
Mm-hmm.
What else do we got here on the notes? Twitch streams are going to kind of go dark for a little while just because I'm going to be traveling. There's no way I'll be streaming. Adam has access to the Twitch, so I mean, he may be streaming.
Yeah.
But I won't be, so there is that. So I plan to resume those on January 5th when everything kind of settles down. Our 3-year anniversary episode is either going to be episode 108 or 109. It just depends on what we decide to do for that episode, because we're kind of...
And where is life? Life could get real crazy real quick.
It really could.
Teaser. The teaser right there really for the dear listeners.
It's an Appe-Teaser, would you say, Adam?
Very much so.
I went to a restaurant recently, and I was so happy because I looked at their menu, and for appetizers, they put Appe-Teasers, and I'm like, this is my new favorite place.
They're doing it right.
They are doing it right. They're doing it right. But as far as our 3-year anniversary episode, not really sure what we're going to do. It just depends on how things go, how planning goes, if we can get guests on, that kind of stuff. So we'll see how it goes. Who knows? It may just be a regular episode where we acknowledge, hey, we've been around for 3 years. We'll do something huge for a 5-year anniversary or something. But like I said,
teaser, big teaser right
full
there.
There are teasers at the start of the show, man.
Things in the works. Let me just say, people, big ideas being thrown around.
True story. True story. Like softballs. We were throwing them
big
around.
Things. And like, I'm not even exaggerating. Like, if this happens, it could forever change TRG podcast. Anyways, I digress.
Yep. There's a little Appe-Teaser. I'm just going to title this episode Appe-Teasers. Game of the Year Appe-Teasers, as a matter of fact. Anyway, dear listeners, hello and welcome to the Reformed Gamers. Let's start off the show like we always do with a little bit of what we've been playing and what we've been reading. And Adam, good sir, who has been gone for quite some time now, what have you been playing, man? I feel like you have
goodness.
You had to have beaten several games by now, or at least one big game.
Yeah, as long as I've been gone, it wasn't. Unfortunately, I wasn't gone just playing video games. As a lot of the, I'll just touch base on this. A lot of the, as most of the dear listeners know, we were in the process of adopting a child, matched with the birth mom, went to the hospital with her around 3 weeks ago. By the time this is released, spent 2 days with her and the baby in the hospital. Things are going well, and unfortunately for us, she just couldn't let the baby go, and she said her heart just couldn't let him go, and so she chose to parent, which she has every right to do. And we still definitely love and care for her and the baby, of course. But for the last month, our life has just been freaking crazy. There was a lot of time spent with her the week like 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, just preparing and spending time with her and making sure she was getting things lined up. And then the week after Thanksgiving is when the baby came. And so a lot of time out and about at hospitals. So I have got to play games. Like I'm comfortable with her, but I didn't quite feel comfortable enough pulling out my Switch as I'm trying to prove to her that I'm going to be a good dad. Like I didn't want to neglect the baby day one at the hospital. So I kept my Nintendo Switch in the bag, even though there's a lot of downtime where I definitely could have been playing instead of watching some crappy show that she had on the TV. But I did finish a big meaty game, but kind of in a disappointing fashion. I know you're probably going to be a little disappointed in me. I finished Persona 5.
Why would I be disappointed about that?
I only did the good ending. I didn't go and do the true ending.
Sorry, sidebar real quick, because you just kind of breezed past it. You good, man?
I'm good.
Okay.
God has been so gracious to my family. We, as hard as it was for the last couple weeks, God has put us in a great community that we're super thankful for. As much as the no for us to become parents in this moment was hard, God had been preparing us for that moment for 5 months, because we had been saying through the whole time of, if it doesn't end in a baby, that doesn't mean that this was without purpose. Yeah. And so while we wanted it to be a yes, the fact that it was a no was okay. God still did some really cool things in our relationship with her, in our relationship with God. He's still teaching us what trust looks like. Doesn't mean there wasn't a lot of disappointment and sadness, and hurt, and those things still pop up some. But she, the mom was worth it, and we've said that from the beginning. I wrote on our blog. You can check out babysouthodoption.com if you want to check it out under updates. A little blog just talking about what happened, some of our processing, with what had happened. But God has just been really, really, really good to us. That even in the midst of disappointment, our hope isn't in a baby. As much as we really, really, really want a baby, our hope isn't in a baby, and our adoption isn't just about a baby. It's if we just wanted a child, there are a lot of different avenues. One of them being biological, and I don't say that arrogantly, but we don't know if we're able to have biological children or not. We have prevented that in order to adopt first. And so if it was just about a baby, we have a lot of reasons to be really upset. Sure. But for us, it's never just been about a baby. It's about living our faith out loud, living out the gospel, loving on a birth mom in a family in need, and starting our family, living out the gospel that is adoption through our family. And so we still trust that the Lord's going to bring all those things into completion in his timeline. And so while, yes, a baby is a major part of this, of course, but it's not the only thing that matters to us in this process. So there's still a lot of joy and hope, even in the midst of frustration and disappointment. So,
wow, man.
But yeah, thanks for asking. I mean,
yeah,
I didn't want to spend too much time just because I know the dear listeners care and they want to hear about it. But yeah, I mean, God has got some cool things even in the works as we speak now, or there's some potential things out there that we're hopeful in, but we'll just see what happens in the next few weeks. I'll keep the dear listeners and Facebook group updated as I can. But right yeah, on. He has been faithful. I guess if there's something I'm trying to say, he's been so faithful and present. My wife did so amazing at the hospital. I'll share this last thing. It's like there was a moment where we knew that she was leaning towards wanting to parent. And we had a conversation with her at about 2:00 and we had one at about 5:00. But the first one at 2:00, we knew she was having those moments of like, I want to parent. And when you see something that you want so bad beginning to slip from your fingers, your natural inclination would be just to grasp at it and grip it as hard as you can, thinking, I'm not going to let this go. But my wife was so selfless. Like we sat down and talked with her and I was kind of holding the baby in the background and Hannah was like up closer talking, and like, she was compassionate. She was loving. She was caring. She was understanding. She was telling her, like, if you think the best thing for yourself is to parent, you have every right to do that. And that's okay. We're going to love you and this baby still. And so, again, while in your flesh, you want to be like, don't do this. When she knew what the right thing to do was, and she didn't step aside from it. She didn't duck it. She walked right into it and was so loving. I was so proud of my wife. It was just one of those moments where I just wanted to like stand up and clap for her. Like it was just like this Holy Spirit anointed that conversation much. It was like, seriously, it was such a special moment for me as her husband, watching her have that conversation. It was just, I was so proud of her. It was so good.
Yeah. I bet that's even more like encouraging for you and just kind of, not like reassuring, but like further cementing this idea in your mind that your wife is going to be an awesome mother.
Yes. I mean, it was just, man, the Holy Spirit was present at the hospital. As hard as it was at different moments, it was a healthy time. Like, and it was okay that she saw us cry and we saw her cry. We care. Like, we haven't been in contact with her, but we hope to reach out to her hopefully sooner than later and just touch base and see how things are going. Again, we don't have any resentment towards her, but man, my wife was a rock star at the hospital. And I was so, so proud of her. Like, such a witness to just loving her irregardless of what it means about a baby. Yeah. She really did love this birth mom well. So sorry, a little bit longer answer. I know I'm supposed to be talking about what I've been playing, but
no, man, I was gonna say, well, that's what we've been reading. So let's continue.
Yeah. But yeah, after that whole thing, I came home, and while I was ignoring all the guys in my dorm, I'm like, I'm gonna finish Persona 5.
Yes.
And so
what'd you think?
Man, again, with the ending that I got, it was fine. I'm not going to provide any spoilers because we'll probably do an episode.
Oh, we will definitely do an episode. I've already promised one person.
Yeah, part of me wanted to do the true ending, but I saw an exit lane and I wanted to take it because I knew other games were coming along. Now, I did this with Persona 4 also, if you remember. I did the wrong ending. I said the wrong thing at the hospital. And I remember going back and finishing it and seeing both endings through one of my saves. But for this one, I'm like, I'm just going to go on YouTube and watch the ending because it's like a string, from my understanding, of just like a ton of boss battles. Yeah. If I'm not incorrect from what I read online. It's pretty brutal. I'm like, as much as that would be fun, I've got all these other games that I'm about to talk about to play, but I really enjoyed it. Like, I probably put in 10 to 12 hours this last like chunk, because I took like 2 or 3 months off from playing it. So I came back, and it took me a minute to kind of get back into it, but I probably put in 10 to 12 hours. And I really enjoyed these last 10 to 12 hours very, very much. And so it reminded me of why I like the game so much. And again, the fact that I'm playing JRPGs is nuts.
Yeah, dude.
But
I still can't believe it.
It's a good game. It was a really, really good game. And we'll talk probably a little bit more about it later in Game of the Year conversations.
Definitely.
Definitely a good game. So finish that. I started Xenoblade Chronicles 2. So I think I'm 7 hours into this game.
Yeah.
And I think, have you started it also?
Yeah, I've started. I'm about 5.5 hours in right now.
Yeah. First impressions is, I mean, of course, comparing it to the 3DS version of Xenoblade Chronicles that I played, it looks a lot better.
Yeah, it does.
That pixelated screen. It's not perfect. I mean, you could tell it's trying to do a lot with some of the graphics, and it doesn't totally reach it. There's some pixelated moments, but overall, it looks really good. If you like the gameplay of Xenoblade Chronicles 1, I never played X, you'll like the same gameplay. I think there's going to be a lot more. Again, we're still pretty early on. We haven't got to a lot of the personalization stuff.
Yeah, we're technically still in the tutorial. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, blades and drivers. There's going to be so much stuff just to play around with. And then all the different things you can do at different shops. It's going to be a very deep game. And the thing I'm doing differently about this one that I didn't do in Xenoblade Chronicles 1 is I'm doing as many side quests as possible.
Same here.
Because one of my biggest things with the first one is I kept getting stuck at boss battles, and I'd have to go grind for like 5 hours at a time just to beat the boss. But I was talking to some students in my dorm, and they're like, the game's super easy. That's why are you struggling? They're like, did you do any of the side quests? And I didn't do very many of them. So they're like, do as many side quests as you can, and it's only going to prevent more of that later. So I'm trying to do as much side stuff as I can. Really, like sometimes, I would avoid fighting enemies just to get moving. I'm not doing that. I'm building a lot of XP by defeating enemies just in like normal fights. So
yeah, I've just been fighting everything I come across because it's like I don't want to grind later, so I'm just gonna fight everything.
Yeah, I kind of got to one of my first little mini bosses. I wouldn't consider him a big boss, and I took care of him pretty easily, so I'm thankful for that. I don't want to like have to grind too much. I know it's going to happen at some point because it's Xenoblade is that traditional JRPG that requires a lot of that, but I don't want to have to do just like hours and hours of it. But it's not a perfect game. The character models of the one main character, Blade, Pyra, is just too much. They really over-sexualized her.
Yeah, they really did.
Her chest and just the clothes that she's wearing is just so unnecessary. But thankfully, as you get a little bit further out of the beginning intro, there's not as many cutscenes and it's not as noticeable. Like I've noticed the last 2 to 3 hours, it's not been as big of a deal as it was the first 4 hours. So I'm thankful for that. But I'm excited to play more of it. Is it a perfect game? By no means. But it's one of those games I'm just going to kind of sip on it. A little bit at a time, and kind of go from there. The other game that I'll just touch base on, I'm playing Everybody's Golf.
Nice.
I got it for $5 from Redbox when they were doing one of their sales. I was super excited about that. Hopefully, dear listeners, if you own the game and you want to get involved in this, I'm hoping to, over the next 3 weeks, post about doing some sort of tournament where we breaks up in groups of 4, play online, track scores. I don't know how many of the dear listeners have this game, but it would be a really fun thing, and we could even stream that, and that would be pretty fun. I don't know how many people want to watch an Everybody's Golf tournament, but
I don't know. It looks like a goofy game. I'd watch it.
Yeah, and it's a really fun game. So hopefully I can work out some of those details. Again, depends what life looks like over the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Hang on. Still playing a lot.
Michael, Colin, I know you two just picked it up, so get in touch with Adam.
Yeah, they've hit me up. We've talked about it.
Oh, have they? Well, there you go. Get started.
Brought it up in the group, so they said that they were interested. And there was a couple other random guys that had said like, yeah, I've got the game, and so I've been trying to look online with like how you can set up tournaments. I don't think you can create a tournament per se, but we could track that stuff in groups of 4 and stuff to make it work. But yeah, hopefully that'll happen in the near future. Here recently got back into Fortnite. I took about a month off of that. Man, that game, I really enjoy it. The servers are a little jacked up right now. If you've done the most recent update, they kind of, I don't know what they did, but they haven't been very steady. But they did like a holiday theme. Some of the, like all the bushes are now have Christmas lights on them.
That's
and
cool.
the The grenade launcher is now a snowball launcher. So they do a lot of those little cartoony things that are a lot of fun. I've played with Zach. Me and him got a clutch win with some other guys here in the dorm the other day. Like I was downed and he had like 20%, like 20 health left and got the last kill. So it was an epic victory that he got to close out the other day. So that's still a fun game. But then lastly, but not leastly, finally on the Nintendo Switch, Yooka-Laylee is here.
Oh, here we go.
After this game's been out forever on PS4 and Xbox One. Yep. I backed it, been waiting for it. And I'll be honest, the game is worth the wait. I tried it out on PS4, and it was fine and all. But I've read some different things. This is, if you want to get Yooka-Laylee, the Nintendo Switch is where to play it. It feels perfectly, feels perfect on that console, being able to grab it and go. It's kind of like that Mario feel to it. It's a lot of collecting, but there's also a lot of mini games throughout it. You unlock different moves as you go along. The first 30 minutes are kind of blah, but after you get past that, you start opening up more moves. And it's a really, it's just open. You have these vast, I don't know if vast is the right word, but pretty big open worlds and maps that you can kind of explore. And you've got a lot. It can be a collectathon if you're looking to collect a lot of different items. Now, you may not want to get it for $40, but if this game goes on sale in the next 2 or 3 months, again, this is a great game for the Nintendo Switch. It has Nintendo all over it. And I didn't know when I finally got my code and I started playing, I'm like, man, I hope this is worth the wait. And I found myself going back to it more than I would. I thought I would have already jumped into Wolfenstein 2 or some of these other games, but I've put those on the back burner because I've been playing Xenoblade and Everybody's Golf, and Yooka-Laylee is really that other kicker. Like Mario, I haven't played in probably 2 weeks.
Because I'll get
back to Mario at some point. That's not a game I'm rushed to collect all 1,000 stars or whatever moons, but that'll be a game probably like Zelda that in 3 months I pick back up, play for 5-10 more hours, set it down, pick up for 5 more, just slowly continue to collect all those moons. But Yooka-Laylee is a fun game. It is a classic 3D platformer like Banjo-Kazooie and some of those games. So if you like them, it is really worth checking out. I really enjoy the game. Is it perfect? By no means. It's a solid 8. I think the reviews of everybody giving it somewhere like 7.5, 8. It's probably not a 9 by any means, but a 7.5, 8 is a good score for that game. It's a fun game.
I'll have to look into that one then.
So yeah, that was a little long, but yeah, that's kind of what I've been playing.
Fair.
And a life update.
Fair enough. No, man, that's good. Yeah, so as far as what I've been playing, let me pull out my GG app and see what I've completed recently. Shout out to you, Charles. Which, by the way, dear listeners, help us get the developer of GG on the show by tweeting at the GG app on Twitter and let them know you want them on the show. Anyway, so recently, since our last episode, we had Mark Ferromi on from the Error 204 podcast, and we talked about Dishonored, and I realized that I wanted to play the Dishonored 1 and get the trophies, Clean Hands and Ghost, which means you play through the whole game without being seen, and you play through the whole game without killing anyone. I wanted to see if I could do it, and I did it, and then that itch came around.
Oh no!
That itch to get the platinum trophy. It came around, and I streamed it with the dear listeners. Did a faux speed run where I beat the game in 3 hours, but I got the platinum trophy. And I beat the game in around 3 hours. Kudos to you, man. So felt good, man. It felt good.
That game never got me. It's the stealth stuff. I'm just like, nope.
It didn't get me either for the longest time. But when I started actually experimenting with the different moves and playing through the game on my Ghost playthrough, dude, that game is so much fun. So much fun. So much so that I think it's in one of my favorite games of all time now. Because of how you can go about. Dude, it's so good. It's so good. Do it. Do a ghost run. See what you think. It's so much fun.
I would never do a ghost
It's
run.
So much fun.
That sounds awful to me.
Anyway, dear listeners, if you actually want to see that speed run, it's on our YouTube channel under Twitch streams. You should be able to see it on the front page. That is there for your viewing pleasure. I don't have much else to add about Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Pretty much what Adam said is my thoughts on the game. I'm so glad it doesn't feel like Xenoblade Chronicles X, because X was cool. I like the look of it. It just played horribly, you know. And I tried to convince myself it was good 30 hours in, and it just wasn't. So Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is so good. I will throw out this reco for the dear listeners looking at picking up the game. Download the Japanese voiceover, because I personally can't stand the English voiceover. I think it's just it's not as good as what it could be, which surprises me a little bit, because the English voiceover for Xenoblade Chronicles 3D was actually pretty good. You know, it wasn't perfect, but it was pretty good. Whereas in 2, it's kind of disjointed. It's kind of stunted in parts, and it sounds weird on some of the delivery, and it really hurts the pacing in some of the conversations. So if you just switch it over to the Japanese VO, it's way better. It's so much better. At least in my opinion. But so far, enjoying it. Can't really say much else. 2 games I do want to talk about, though, and one was a beta. I'll talk about that first, actually. So the Monster Hunter World beta dropped last week or so. And, dude, I'm telling you this right now, Adam. Day 1 purchase for me. Day 1 purchase. I was impressed by that beta, man. It was the same old Monster Hunter, but it looked fantastic. They added in some new things that needed to be there, like a lock on the big monsters that you're hunting.
Okay.
A new and improved map. New ways to kind of traverse the map, like Tarzan or swimming and things like that. Tracking, traps, all that stuff. It was so much fun getting to play with some of the admins in the group and some other dear listeners. It's going to be a day 1 purchase for me. That game, it's going places. It's going places.
I didn't try the beta. I probably should have.
Oh, you should have.
I played on the 3DS, and it just never grabbed me, because I'm like, all the things you do, from my understanding, was all just to get better gear. And that's why Destiny the in-game stuff doesn't grab me, because I just don't care about those things.
Sure.
And so that's my struggle with Monster Hunter. It was always like, oh, we got to go kill this beast 7 times to get a certain amount of scales to build some armor. And I'm just like, that's not going to do it for me. And so this one looks much better, which is also a big thing with my big issue with the other ones. I'm just like, this game is too big and too grand for a 3DS, in my opinion. So I'm excited. It has my attention and interest. I don't know if it'll be a purchase, though. We'll just have to see as we get closer to it. Hopefully, maybe they do another beta, and then I can try it out again, or try it out for the first time. But I'm interested in it. I just don't know, like, games that require me to play with other people with my schedule. Like, I'm really glad Zach Buchholz is like, I'm like, man, I'm starting to find out we have similar schedules since he's a seminary student. I'm like, why haven't we been playing games together more? Like, we started playing Fortnite, and he's like, he's available from like 2 to 5, and I'm like, what the heck? Why am I never playing games with this dude? So if I know he's gonna have that time frame open, I know he's a big Monster Hunter fan, so that could be a selling point.
There you go. You guys can be best friends. Monster hunting, best friends. There you go. That being said, dear listeners, if you're picking the game up, let us know, because we will be starting a TRG clan thing in the game, so we can all hunt together and have some good times and create stories and memories together. Anyway, so the last game that I'm going to talk about that I started up, and this is one I had been wanting to play ever since it came out, and that is Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. And all the stuff I've heard about this game has been nothing but good things, stellar things. All of it's true. This game not only looks fantastic, but the sound design is quite possibly the best sound design I have ever heard in a game.
This guy is making some bold claims.
I'm just saying, man, because the thing is, and here's the thing, dear listeners, you have to understand this. If you're going to play this game, you have to play with headphones. Because if you just play it through your TV and you don't have surround sound of any sort, you're not going to get the full experience of the sound. It's still going to sound good, but you're not going to get to experience all of the work that went into it. Because when you put on headphones, to give the dear listeners a bit of a primer for those who maybe have never heard of this game or know much about it. You play as Senua, who is a Celtic warrior that has psychosis. So that means that she hears voices in her head, she sees things, and she's on this journey to basically go into, I forget what they call it in the game, but she's trying to save someone that she cares about. And so she's going into like this dark zone place to try and get them back, while also fighting her psychosis, the voices in her head, just things that she sees, the darkness that is creeping up on her. I don't want to give away too much, but it's just interesting how they portray psychosis and just mental illness in a way that feels authentic and is not disrespectful in any way, at least from how far I've gotten to the game so far. But when you start up the game, the way that they design the sound is it's all designed to make you feel like Senua. So you'll go into a zone and you'll start hearing the voices in your head kind of all over the place around you, whispering things like, don't go in there, stop, they'll be like whispering, they're just all going at once. And so it's unnerving, it's uncomfortable, sometimes it's kind of terrifying. But at the same time, when you pull back and think about it, it's like, this is what people actually go through on a day-to-day basis. Like, wow. It's a very eye-opening experience. But also, and this is just for someone who deals with anxiety, it's kind of refreshing to see a hero in a game wrestle with these kinds of things in the game, but still persevere, and you want them to succeed and persevere. It's such a compelling way of doing a game and way of creating a hero, because I remember just anytime I got into a fight scene, all right, and Senua was like, oh man, it doesn't look like it's gonna go work. Like, I was sitting there like cheering her on, like, no, let's overcome this together, come on, let's do this. And every time I finished one boss fight, and afterwards I was just like, yeah, get some, let's do this, you got this darkness is not gonna stop you, we're gonna win, we're gonna find this dude, and you're gonna stop talking to the severed head hanging on your hip, but that's besides the point. It's gonna be great, it's gonna be awesome. And it just, so far, this has been one of my favorite gaming experiences of the year so far. And I just, it's so cool. I knew it was going to be good. I knew I was going to enjoy it, but it has surpassed my expectations of how good I thought this game was going to be. I know I might be.
So did you finish it?
Not yet. I'm like 10% of the way through, maybe.
How long is it? Do you know? Did you look up?
I want to say 8 to 10 hours.
Okay.
And I've only put in.
Curious. I didn't know if it was like a 4-hour game or if it was a little bit longer than that.
No, it's 8 to 10, and then might be a little bit longer depending on how stuck you get on the puzzles. But I think I'm 2 hours into it so far, so I guess it's about a quarter of the way through, maybe.
Okay.
But dude, I'm blown away by this game. And it has a photo mode. And so, I mean, I've been playing around with that. So maybe that's why I've played the game for 2 hours. I've spent an hour and a half.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great. I mean, it's got like you said, it's got a decent amount of good like media coverage and stuff. So everybody seems to agree with you. It's one of those games that I'm sure I don't need to play it now because I've got plenty of games on my plate. But one day when it goes on sale, hopefully pick it up and play through it.
Yeah. Now, I will add this caveat too, is because Senua wrestles with psychosis, and she does see things. Some of the imagery in the game it's pretty terrifying. It's very nightmarish. And I don't think they do it in a way that is exploitative. They don't do it for like a shock factor or shock value. They portray this in a way that's like, this is what people go through, and this is kind of their own, this is their own hell that they have to push through and fight through every single day. And for this character, this is what she's fighting through. And so I think it adds a lot to the story. It adds a lot to the character. And it's just so new, so unique, man. I have not played a game quite like this before. So
nice.
But yeah, that's what I've been playing. So Adam, good sir, what have you been reading? Have you had time to read?
What have I was reading again. It's been a long time since I've been on this stinking podcast, and I hate that. Also, listeners, I don't like being gone. I love recording with Logan and getting to talk about games and nerd out. So I don't ever enjoy missing, but life has not been normal for the last month and a half. But yeah, I've been reading for my job. We read books and kind of talk them as a leadership team. So we finally finished, and I feel like this is probably one of my biggest accomplishments in a long time. I've now read all 3 of the major works of John Owen.
Oh,
so, wow. We finished Indwelling Sin. So I've read Of Temptation, or Mortification of Sin, Of Temptation, and now Indwelling Sin. And we discussed it today at one of our work meetings. And so it was meaty. It was so meaty and so much good stuff in it. There are a lot of times where I'm like, I don't remember anything in the last 15 pages, but then there'll be some pages where I'm underlining the entire page. And probably in those other 15 pages, if I was really focused in, there would have been a lot of good stuff too. But I mean, reading one of those pages is like reading 5 pages in a lot of other books. It's so stinking meaty. And so it took me forever to finish it. And this is the longest of those 3, Indwelling Sin is. But it was really, really good. Again, if you like some of those old Puritan writers, John Owen is a good one. I mean, working with college students, talking about how to deal with temptation, how to deal with sin, the idea of killing sin before it kills you. Just so good. A lot of really good things in this book. Again, I could probably read it 10 times over and still not get everything out of it, but it was a really, really good book. I've also been reading, and just in my quiet time, I'm doing the Read Scripture app on my phone, and I'm in Deuteronomy and Psalm. But just kind of with everything we've been going through just in the last few months with the adoption stuff, and specifically the last 2 weeks since our match didn't go through. In the beginning of Deuteronomy, here in chapter 8 specifically, God's talking to Moses and the Israelites and kind of saying, like, serve me. We're about to go into this land and fight, and trust me, obey my commandments. But here in chapter 8, he talks about remembering what the Lord has done. And he says, and you shall remember the whole way that the Lord has led you these 40 years in the wilderness, that he might humble you, testing you to know what was in your heart, whether you would keep his commandments or not. And as I was reading this, I mean, this was probably, 3 or 4 days after our adoption didn't go through. And it really just stuck out to me because the big thing that Hannah and I have been trying to do in this process, as we've said, doubt is going to come at times, but how we respond to that doubt is really, really important to us. And so we would often say we need to look back to the pillars of remembrances of, like, okay, where did God bring us? How did he get us to this point? Has he affirmed it? Because, those first couple of days after the adoption didn't go through, we had a lot of doubts, and we struggled with that of, okay, God, why did this happen? Are we doing something wrong? Are we in sin? Is it really the path that you're taking us on? Just asking a lot of those questions. This text really, it was important for me because I needed to remember where God has brought us from and what he has brought us through to get us to this point. And so I needed to remember the people who have blessed us, not just with financial gifts, but with encouragement and words of encouragement, and the amount of students that have loved us and prayed with us, encouraged. And, like, we can look back and say, there's no doubt that God has put adoption on our heart for this season for a reason, that we're where we're supposed to be. And we believe that wholeheartedly. But sometimes we need to remember, because, I mean, sure, Israel had been wandering for 40 years, and they're probably at times being like, God, what the heck is going on? Like, are we ever going to get to this promised land? And for us, the adoption, finalizing an adoption with a baby, that sometimes feels like that promised land of like, yeah, it's only been 2 years, but Lord, are we ever going to get there? But he has reminded me that I need to remember the whole way that the Lord has brought us. Yeah, he has humbled us. There's no doubt about that. I think in many ways he has tested us. He's tested us to, okay, how are you going to respond in the midst of disappointment? Are you going to get bitter? Are you going to overreact? Are you going to distrust me? Or are you going to continue to walk in faithful obedience as best as you can? So that text really stuck out to me just over the last couple weeks as I've been thinking through, okay, I need to remember. The heading of this is just says, remember the Lord your God. And so that's what I've been really trying to do in the midst of this season. Like, just kind of, again, the baby didn't die, so it's hard to say we're mourning, but there is a sense of loss because we were loving on this baby for 2 days in the hospital, thinking he was coming home with us, and then he didn't. And so while, yes, the baby didn't die and his mom loves him, there's still a sense of loss for us, but maybe not quite like some other situations. But we need to remember the Lord and his faithfulness to us. So that's been just a real good text for me to think through over the past few weeks. Then just some other things. I've currently read 22 books this year, which is by far probably the most I've ever read. I'm trying to get 2 more. Like, I'm actually at 22 and a half. I've read half of W.E.B. Du Bois, The Souls of Black Folk. Hopefully I'm going to finish that before the end of the new year. And then you hooked us up with Blood, Sweat, and Pixels. Yep. And I want to finish that by the end of the year so I can say I read 24 books, averaging out on 2 a month, which sounds crazy because I know some months I didn't read any, which also means other months I read more. So I'm hoping to get to 24 books by the end of this year, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, man.
So
you can do it.
But yeah, I think so. I'm going to have, tomorrow is technically my last day. And so we're recording this on a Thursday. Most of the students will be gone on a Friday tomorrow. Everyone has to be moved out by Saturday. Then I got 3 weeks off. So living that dream, the thing is, I've got so many video games to play.
Just play Xenoblade and read. That's what I'm going to try and do.
I'm going to read some. There's no doubt. Like, that's the great thing about these times. I can get up, get my time in the Word, play a little video games, eat lunch, get a little afternoon reading in. Hannah will probably be at work some, and then we'll hit the holidays and we'll be traveling up to Michigan. So I'll have my Switch with me, but I'm going to have my iPad and my Kindle to hopefully finish up both of those books by January 1st. So you can keep me accountable. But next time we do the podcast, you can challenge me, Adam, did you finish your homework? And I'll hopefully say yes.
I'll just text you every day.
That's also helpful. Hey, stop playing. I see you're online. Get off and read a chapter. And I was looking at that.
It's like, Adam, stop playing Fortnite. We get it. You like the game. Go read some books.
Yeah, right. I was looking at the table of contents for that Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, and I didn't realize they just talk about certain like individual games and their development cycle.
Yeah,
like that seems super interesting to me. So I'm excited to get into it. Hopefully, I'll even start tomorrow.
It's fascinating, dude. It's just it's such a good book. I want to read it again. It's so good.
Cool. How about you? What you've been reading?
So, I'm going to be honest, a little transparent with y'all, dear listeners. Past few weeks have just been crazy busy. And so my whole devotional time stuff has not been as consistent as I'd like it to be. So that's been that. Y'all can be praying for me. Maybe you can help keep me accountable on Twitter or if you're in the Facebook group. But I have been trying to finish up some of the books that I started earlier this year. A couple months ago, because I want to get them done. I want to enter 2018 and be like, okay, I'm going to take this Tim Challies reading challenge. I want to try and get 24 books done. So I want to finish the books I have, so that way I don't have anything carrying over. And one of those books I started this year is called Good and Angry by Paulison. I just totally forgot his first name. And so far, the premise of the book basically is there's a difference between being good and angry. And what that means is you can be angry as a Christian, you can have anger, and it can be good but there's a fine line between it being good and it being bad. And about 90% of the time, it's bad. And so it's basically just taking a honest look at anger, its purpose, how it can be constructive, how it can't be constructive, or I guess I should say how it's often not constructive, and looking at the Bible and seeing kind of some examples through Jesus and Moses and other people in the Bible. Just seeing like what's a good example of anger, what's a bad example, and just trying to figure out, how we can essentially redeem that emotion and use it to glorify God. And it's been challenging because right out of the gate, it's actually funny because the second chapter is titled, "Do you have an anger problem?" And he just puts yes. And then it goes on to chapter 3 and I'm like, what? Are you really? And it's funny because I think in chapter 3, he starts off with, "So what was your reaction to chapter 2? Were you angry or were you just kind of like laughing?" I'm like, I don't like what this book is doing to me right now. It's making me have like an existential crisis or something like that. But it's been a bit of a mixed bag. It's been good to kind of come to grips with anger and kind of owning up to where I'm at with anger and how I use it. But at the same time, the book does this weird thing where it engages you and then it stops for a long stretch of time. And it's made it really hard to read and push forward. And the information is good, but in a lot of spaces, it honestly reads like a fluffed up seminary paper. He has this point that he makes, and then he spends about a page and a half just basically saying the same thing over and over, and just in a different way and a different wording and stuff. And it's been hard to keep up with it, and I want to finish it because I want to see just kind of where he goes from what he's built on so far. But all that to say is, and this is just kind of a personal application that I've seen in my life, is that when you get angry at someone, pull back a little bit. Or when you get angry at a situation, pull back a little bit, breathe a little bit, and then ask, okay, and actually take some time to pray about it and be like, okay, God, how can I glorify you in this? Because I've been struggling to do that ever since I've been reading this book. It's funny how you read something and then you get opportunities to practice that, Yeah. And so just from someone who wrestles with anger a lot to maybe someone else out there listening who does wrestle with anger a lot of the crap that we get angry at isn't worth our time. And a lot of the stuff that really just ticks us off and makes us fly off the handle is not the appropriate response to such a trivial action. And it's honestly not worth burning a bridge or two with the response. So all that being said, the book's been challenging me. I've been trying to, when I get angry, just kind of pull back a little bit, pray, and then just go from there. I haven't been perfect at it. But it's been good so far. I don't know that I would necessarily recommend the book because of how it kind of fluffs itself up in some spaces. But that being said, dear listeners, if you struggle with anger and you see it in a bookstore, flip through some of the pages, read some of the chapters. Chapter 2 is super short. You can finish that in like a second, and just kind of go from there. So that's what I've been reading. Is it that time? Is it that time that we talk about the game of the year?
I think so.
Awesome. Well, I feel bad for doing this now, but dear listeners, we're gonna take a quick break.
Bum, bum, bum.
Just building that tension, man. And like I said, it's an episode full of Appe-Teasers. So we'll take a break. We'll come back with our game of the year discussion and go from there. Stay tuned.
Have you ever watched a movie or TV show with your friends and noticed all kinds of symbolism, allegory, and Christian themes, only to have your friends shrug it off?
Well, maybe you need some new friends, but more likely, you need popcorn theology. I'm Richard.
And I'm David, and we're the hosts of Popcorn Theology, a podcast for movie lovers and theology nerds.
Each week we dive into a different movie, TV show, or other topic and explore them from a biblical worldview.
Check us out on iTunes or your favorite podcast catcher, or at popcorntheology.com.
And remember, you are not a mindless consumer.
Welcome back, dear listeners. We have arrived at that time of the year to do the annual TRG Game of the Year Awards, the only award show that actually matters, because apparently people vehemently disagree with Jeff Keighley and what he's trying to do. I'm just messing around at this point. It was a thing in the group for a while. People were like, Breath of the Wild shouldn't have won Game of the Year. So we'll see if it wins Game of the Year on the TRG Award show. But before we get to the Game of the Year, we always have kind of our goofy awards and some serious awards.
Yeah.
So we're gonna kick things off with the coveted, the renowned Broken Controller Award. This is the game that just greatly frustrated us in 2017. The one game that while we may have not have thrown our controller, it did make us quit. It did make us tap. Adam, good sir, what game for you gets the coveted, renowned, Broken Controller Award?
Now, I think we need to make a caveat.
Okay.
We play a lot of different games each year. So when in years past, we have said for our Game of the Year in all of these different categories, it could be a game that's 5 years old that we played in 2017.
True story.
And so it doesn't mean that every game, because I have some games on here that did not come out in 2017, but I'm either trying to play an old game that I never got around to, yada, yada, yada. And this actually is what fits into this category for me. So my coveted Broken Controller Award goes to, and this is going to probably make some people upset, Super Mario Sunshine.
Oh,
It was a game that frustrated me beyond all in. I didn't think the camera was very good. It glitched on me all over the place. I missed so many platforms trying to jump. Like, for its time, I think it was good, but playing it 15 years or however many years later, it frustrated the tar out of me. And I think it also goes to say there wasn't a ton of games that really frustrated me and made me too angry this year. It was a pretty good year of games for me. So it was a hard category for me to really find a game that I was like, just made me angry. I almost put for the next category, I almost put that one for this one, but I didn't want to have the same answer twice. So while it wasn't like a lot of games that I've played in the past where I just would like Bloodborne, where I'm like, I can't play this anymore because I'm about to go nuts.
Yeah.
But this game brought out some frustration in me, no doubt. And some of it was controlling, some of it was camera, some of it was just the datedness of some of the different things in that game. But yeah, I was hoping I was really going to like it and play through it, but I couldn't get into it this year.
Fair enough. That's okay, man. It's okay to not like refined classical video games, you know?
I wish I liked it more. I love Mario 64. I love Mario Odyssey. That game and the little water spout thing.
Yeah.
There was just some frustrations in that game.
I'm pretty sure that Mario Sunshine is the one that, at least among the Mario community, is probably one of the lowest points in Mario gaming history.
Yeah, it just didn't grab me, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason we didn't get a Mario Sunshine 2. So.
You're right.
And I can say that because I actually enjoyed Sunshine. So it's, but I'll admit it's probably not good by today's standards at all.
It just doesn't hold up as well as even Mario 64, in my opinion.
Yeah. So there it is. As far as, mine, it's actually not so much a game as it is a DLC that came out for the game. And that is my GG app just froze. Charles, can you fix that, please? I'm totally kidding. It's actually the Master Trials DLC expansion 1 that came with Breath of the Wild.
Good
It was
one.
this.
It's a good one.
I remember being super excited about it, right? I'm like, oh, dude, Breath of the Wild expansion. Love the base game. Can't wait to play more of it. And then I saw what that was, and it's this thing where you have to go through 50 trials where you have to basically scavenge for gear and items. And I'm like, this is not fun. Like, it would be fun if I could do this kind of horde mode style Legend of Zelda with all of my gear and weapons I got throughout the game. But the way they did it was not fun. And the lack of checkpoints, the lack of saving unless you got to floor like 10 or something, it wasn't designed well. It just wasn't fun. It was more frustrating than anything else. And I never finished it. I got so mad at the game that I didn't play Zelda for probably 4 months, maybe. So, yeah. Not
It's
4
funny.
months.
You talk about like a part of a game.
Right.
That was like, I'm not going to spoil this, but I almost put Mario Odyssey because while that game is really easy at times, the dark side of the moon.
Okay.
Have you
yeah.
where they give you only 3 hearts.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And that it took me way too long. I'm like,
Yeah.
this should not be that hard. But the fact of how they make you go about that little section was really frustrating. I played it one night for like an hour and a half and I couldn't beat it. I'm just like, so while that whole game isn't that, but that part of the game was very much a Broken Controller Award nominee.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can agree with you there. That was a very frustrating thing for me, but man, if you haven't played that Zelda DLC, like I almost hate to Reco it.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer.
Yeah.
I heard it was really hard.
It was so bad. I have no desire to finish it. Now that DLC too, though, that stuff's good. Anyway, so that is our coveted, renowned, Broken Controller Award, and continuing on our journey of despair and tears. Up next is our most disappointing game of 2017. Adam, good sir, what game disappointed you the most?
Again, it's been a great year for video games, so let's just give 2017 a round of applause. Like, way to go, 2017!
Yeah,
you made a lot of really good games, and I'm thankful I didn't choose to play too many games that were that bad. But I did choose to buy one game. That I wish I wouldn't have bought, but I finished it because I can't not finish really games once I start them. It's hard for me to quit them. I won't complete them 100% or anything platinum, but Mass Effect Andromeda.
Oh wow.
It could have been so much better. I had just played number 2. Never got to number 3, but whatever. A lot of people think number 2 is the best one. So really enjoyed it. Andromeda comes up and it was just very blah.
Yeah.
It had moments where it looked good. It had moments where it looked really bad. The story was meh. So yeah, not to throw a lot of, it got beat up a lot this year, so I don't have to beat it up too much.
Yeah.
But for a game that had a lot of hype behind it, EA gonna EA. And again, for a year of a lot of really good games.
Yeah.
I didn't play too many of the really bad ones, but for a year with a lot of good games, that was the most disappointing one. Now, was the game horrible? I'm not saying it was horrible. It was disappointing, though.
Right.
There's a difference.
Right. It could have been so much more.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Fair enough.
How about you?
So, as for me, I'm torn between 2 games. I'm torn between Mass Effect Andromeda, which should come as no surprise to anyone, or Destiny 2. So,
tell me why Destiny 2. Give me a little breakdown on that.
Here's why Destiny 2. 1, it fizzled out way faster than the first one did. I remember playing Destiny 1 well until probably 8 months after it launched. Destiny 2, I stopped after a month. Mainly because, and this is basically, a lot of people will agree with this, is Bungie just kind of, they didn't make it fun. they didn't have fun with a lot of the stuff. You level up way too fast, and then once you get there, you got to get all these bright engrams for the shaders. And I mean, of course, there's the whole shader thing. I talked about it in an episode. You guys can go listen to it. There's that. The raid just wasn't fun. I mean, the strikes weren't that great. It felt like a step back from what Bungie had accomplished with Destiny 1 up to that point before Destiny 2 released. And it wasn't as good. It wasn't as good. You know, it's nice that they had a good story out of the gate, but it's like, we already saw that with the Taken King, Rise of Iron, you know, so it just wasn't as good, which is surprising because they built up a really good foundation in Destiny 1 by the time that we got to the end of that. And then Destiny 2 was just like, okay, we're going to take a step back, mess some things up.
Yeah.
So, that being said, I think I'm going to have to agree with you and go with Mass Effect Andromeda as well, just because I love Mass Effect. I've played through all 3 games multiple times through to completion. Played the DLC for most of them. One of my favorite gaming series, and to see it not be on par with the rest of the games was just such a bummer, man. You know, and like you, the game's been beaten all over the place. It's been buried. We don't need to drag it up again and hit that point home anymore. It's just, man, was not expecting that this year. Came out of left field. So, but on to better and happier things now that we got the depressing stuff out of the way. The next award is Best Narrative in a Video Game. This is Best Story, essentially. Adam, good sir, what game did you play in 2017 that had the best story?
Besides Splatoon 2? No. Honestly, I kind of struggled with this one. Like I can't think of a lot of games that really stuck out to me with a ton of like Persona had some pretty good storytelling, but
sorry, I was not expecting that. Sorry, go ahead.
I'll give you a second. You good?
I almost spat out my Dr. Pepper. That's how good you got me.
All right, good.
All right, go for it.
But I think the game I chose, because I mean, you look at Breath of the Wild, it's not great because of its story. You look at Odyssey, it's not great because of its story.
Right.
A lot of the games there's a lot of really good gameplay this year. I don't think the storytelling was necessarily as strong, or I didn't play the games that had a ton of strong, maybe. I mean, I played some good old games, but so I picked Horizon Zero Dawn as the best narrative. Was it perfect? No, but I enjoyed this, the new character, the way they developed this world of mechanical dinosaurs and her being the outcast and her exploring and seeing her role in defeating this and seeing the relationship with her and another character. I don't want to do any spoilers or any of that stuff for anybody who hasn't played it, but that game. And then I know this is narrative, but you marry that with the great gameplay. There's some good side quests even in Horizon Zero Dawn, so that's what I picked for best narrative.
Right on. So for best narrative for me, I'm going to have to go with Metroid Samus Returns. Just a gripping story, just roller coaster. No, I'm totally kidding. The story is not what makes that game fantastic. I don't know, man. This is another one where I'm torn between 2 games. I'm torn between Horizon Zero Dawn and Persona 5.
Yeah.
And again, we'll get into this when we talk about the game. Even though I didn't like the ending to Persona 5, it was still just a really good story that was almost too real. Like, it hit close to home for a lot of people for different scenarios. Man, was it well acted. It was well written. It was weird at times, but it was it was so fascinating. It's one of those stories that the game, like when you hear the game is 100 hours long just for the story, you're like, it better be good. And man, did Persona 5 deliver on that promise. And even Horizon Zero Dawn came out of nowhere, you know, coming from the studio that makes Killzone, not a very narrative driven game, you know. They hit it out of the park. Can I just pick both?
Yeah, man, we can do a co-award there. We make the rules, baby.
Both just made me cry. Oh, that's true. We do what we do.
We make the rules and we can change them anytime we want because rule number 1 is there are no rules.
There we go. That's how we do it.
We can change the rules that we don't have.
Cool. You know, I'll go ahead and give it to Persona 5 since you gave it to Horizon.
That
because that story was just, and some of the twists in there, dude.
Well, there's so much to that narrative because there's character development, and depending on who you pick as higher confidants, you could get different even story paths even within those. Yeah. Like the story of Haifumi, who is this tennis champ, and her mom is pressuring her to do certain things. Like that's a good little storyline. Yeah. The storyline with the one girl's mom and just the conspiracies. There's a lot of definitely good narrative in there for sure. And just, there's a lot of stuff we can say about that, and we'll get to it.
Again, we'll get that episode out in 2018. Stay tuned. So up next then, game with the best art of 2017. There's a lot of good candidates for this one, man. So, Adam, I'm going to let you go first.
Yeah, I'm not an Xbox guy, so I mean, a lot of people would probably say Cuphead. I didn't play that. I don't think you did either, have you?
No, I didn't. I got it. I didn't bring this up. I got it for Steam from Everyday Gamers. I won their contest they had going, so I might be playing that soon.
Sweet. Yeah, so we know that everyone really loved that art style. We just haven't played that yet. So again, this is only stuff that we've played. Shout out to one old school game that I played that I really liked from a couple years back. Song of the Deep. It came out in 2016. I think January. That has a really cool art style to it. Really enjoyed that. But Persona 5 is the runaway winner for me in this category.
Yeah. I want to give it to Persona 5, but Horizon Zero Dawn was really, really cool looking. I mean, just everywhere. So I think this one I'm going to have to give to Horizon because it's just so, dude, the Thunderjaw looks awesome.
Yeah, the way they created the different beasts, I mean, a lot of just in the way that you can tear off different parts of their bodies. I mean, there's a lot of thinking that went into that and how you can kind of examine them. And with the what's the thing that she used, the dang it, the little clip on the side of her head,
bow and arrow. Oh, the focus.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, if they make a Bluetooth headset that looks like a Focus, I will totally buy one. Those things are cool. But yeah, so there's best art. Best soundtrack of 2017. This also has a lot of good choices.
See, you're a bigger soundtrack guy than me. Like, I don't do great with like focusing in too much. Like, I think it just kind of passively, I just take in a lot of things. So, but I'm actually gonna do a throwback game because and I just mentioned it for art. Song of the Deep. That has a really good soundtrack. It's very chill. Again, between the art and the music, it's a really just relaxing game. It's not too much. It's not too long. But there's just a lot of soothing. It's based underwater, so you're getting a lot of that underwater sound and music. And it's written almost like not a fairy tale, but maybe I guess fairy tale of sorts, but really, really solid music and Song of the Deep. Again, I know it came out in 2016, but I played it earlier this year.
Fair enough. For me, this one honestly should come as no surprise to anybody. But Splatoon 2, man, just wow.
It's up there for Game of the Year. Best story, best soundtrack.
Just hits all those boxes, dude. Just Nintendo had a runaway success with this new IP. No, I'm kidding. Persona 5, hands down. I know some of our dear listeners are like, whoa, what about Nier Automata? Not going to lie. Great soundtrack. But I also haven't finished the game. So
And I said, did you play that? I didn't even know you played it.
I'm like 2 hours into it. I still need to finish it. Part of the problem with Nier Automata is that you would think I would enjoy it because I watch anime, but this game is weird on a whole other level that I'm still trying to like push through the game to get to, and it's just not been easy at all. But Persona 5, I'm going to say Persona 5 for two reasons. One, it's fantastic. Two, it's the only soundtrack that I've actually bought this year that's video game related. It's so good. The jazz, the upbeat stuff, the more somber tones. It has a wide range that is just fantastic.
I think Xenoblade Chronicles 2 would have been up there if it would have came out earlier.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, because I think that's going to have a really the first one had a great soundtrack, but I'm not far enough into it. So this time next year, we may be bringing it up again.
Fair enough. I can get with that. I can get down with that. So what do we got up next? Best surprise of 2017. Adam, what game surprised you the most?
Well, I think this game surprised a lot of people. I wanted to make sure that there wasn't anything else that kind of stuck out to me. But this was a game, if you would have asked me at any point last year, first of all, would this game be created? Everyone would have said no. And then if they would have said, will this be any good? Everyone would have said no. But Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle came out of nowhere. When they announced it, people were like, is this for real? Like, there was like a leak that it was about to happen. Then E3 comes around and they show it, and Miyamoto comes out with one of those guns on his hands with the other guy from Ubisoft who was way too excited about being on stage with Miyamoto. But that game was really good. I listened to the guys over on Nintendo Voice Chat, and they're constantly saying Mario plus Rabbids is a must buy for the Nintendo Switch, and I agree. Is it the best game? No, but you got to play it. It's so unique for the Mario world, and the Rabbids, they're cute. It's a funny game. Definitely a huge surprise, and a game I would have never thought I would have bought. Yeah, that I really enjoyed that game. It was really good.
Yeah, man. For me, best surprise goes to Nintendo Switch. Wow. Thank you again, Nintendo. No, it's actually going to be a game. But for real, Nintendo, seriously. Awesome.
Yeah,
surprise.
I thought about saying that also for this category, but I'm glad you mentioned that.
Like, I'm going to at least give that an honorable mention because Nintendo coming back in a huge way. But as far as best surprise goes, I would give it to Hellblade, but I haven't finished it yet. So I could do it. I'm just not going to. So best surprise for me this year that I would give to, again, no surprise to anybody, Metroid Samus Returns. Like, wow. I thought Nintendo had given up on Metroid, and then E3 rolls around. They're like, hey, here's a new Metroid game coming out on 3DS. Oh, when do you get to play it? This year. Thank you, Nintendo, for giving me hope, giving me my childhood dreams come true, and bringing Samus back in a good way. So I still need to actually 100% that game. But anyway, best surprise, Metroid Samus Returns. Fantastic game. On to the next one. Hype Train Award. Choo choo. This one is our most anticipated game, one that we are looking forward to with great anticipation and great expectations. Adam, good sir, which game are you going to give the Hype Train Award to?
So this is for 2018.
Right, for 2018.
Okay, I wanted to make sure it wasn't one that was the most hyped this last year.
No.
Or one that we're most excited for. Okay, there's a lot of good games coming out next year.
There are.
I mean, just thinking PlayStation exclusives, not let alone some of the Nintendo games that have been announced. But Spider-Man is my pick. You've got Spider-Man, God of War was up there, Detroit Beyond Detroit. What is it? Detroit.
Become Human.
I want to say Beyond Human.
I know. I was like, wait, you're
sense.
combining Beyond Two Souls and Detroit. And that's,
Yeah.
I mean, same developer, but not the same.
Yeah. I mean, you've got that. You've got Red Dead Redemption in the fall. There's a lot of great games. I mean, I'm sure there's some that I'm even missing, but Spider-Man is sooner than later. Hopefully. And it looks, I mean, then you got Ni no Kuni. I mean, there's a lot of really good games coming out next year. But Spider-Man is, all the demos they have shown have been out of this world.
Yep.
So cool. So that's probably my most anticipated game of next year.
See, I thought you would have picked Detroit for this one.
I mean, I love Michigan and I love Detroit, but that's one of the, I mean, I watched the demo from PSX and it looked good, but I just don't know. I'm definitely going to play it. There's no doubt I'm going to play it, but I don't think, sometimes I just get bored walking around and like,
that's fair.
I don't like always working for a game that much. Like, it's like LA Noire. I heard you had to like literally like solve stuff. And I'm like,
it's boring, man.
I just kind of want to play it. I don't really want to have to work this hard.
Yeah.
But so that's kind of my only negative with that. Like, I like the different spider webs of choices and how they all affect things. That seems really neat. But I don't want to have to work that hard, and it looks like I might have to work more than I want to.
Yeah, fair enough. Totally understand. And I actually agree, which is why I'm going to pick Spider-Man also.
Yeah.
It looks great, man. So far what we've seen looks fantastic. I cannot wait to play it. It'd be nice to have a Spider-Man game where just plays well, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Now, before we get to the game of the year, Adam reached out to some of you dear listeners on Facebook, asked you guys for some awards that you'd like to see. You'd like to hear some of our picks, and maybe even pick yourself in the different forums, different ways that you can communicate with us. So, Adam, good sir, what were some of the awards that some of our dear listeners suggested for us?
Now, this one's specifically for you because I could care less about these things called achievements and trophies.
Okay, here we go.
But what was the game with the hardest achievements or trophies that you played in 2017?
Telltale's Guardians of the Galaxy, because that was hard to get through. No, again, let me pull up my GG app here. There you go, Charles, repping that. Let me see what I've got on here, because I got a lot of not achievements. I got a lot of trophies this year. Or platinum trophies, I should say. And so I kind of have to go back through and see which ones I got this year. So one game, I'll just do this. Actually, 2 games I got this year. I got the platinums for. So I'll say these 2. So honorable mention, Titanfall 2. The Becomes the Master trophy, where you have to get to that gauntlet challenge in under 33 seconds.
I remember watching your video on that.
Ridiculously hard, but I did it twice, so it's awesome. But yeah, that one was brutal. All the other trophies in that game, totally fine, no big deal. Even beating the game on the hardest difficulty, it's fine, it's doable. But man, that Becomes the Master trophy was brutal. Here's the one I'm gonna pick: Injustice 2. It has 1 trophy on there. I can't remember the name of it. But what it is, you have to get this certain you have to get this certain move for Catwoman and win a match using that move. Only problem is, the only way you get that move is through a loot box. I spent way too much time getting that 1 trophy, and it was unnecessarily difficult. That it wins the award for most difficult trophy, because it's just so dumb. It's so dumb. NetherRealms never ever ever put that kind of trophy in your games again. Everything else was fine, but that 1 trophy. So most difficult trophy award goes to whatever that Catwoman move trophy name was from Injustice 2. So dumb.
There you go. So it has been said, so it shall be.
Yep. I did get the platinum, though. I did get the platinum, so there's that.
Respect, man, respect. Next award, best voice acting.
Ooh. What do you
I've
think?
got my answer. I'll let you think.
Okay.
My answer was Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. Naughty Dog just does it right. They do a great job with their voice acting. They do a great job with the facial expressions with Chloe and Nadine. Of course, Nathan Drake isn't in this, but their voice acting is just always top notch. So for me, that was kind of the easy choice. Again, because you have games, some of the other big games. Again, Mario.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Not
fantastic, man.
Zelda is a mute and cannot talk, and so some of those other really big games. I mean, I played Ni no Kuni, but that was whatever. And again, Splatoon is just well-rounded across the board. So I would have to go for Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, probably head and shoulders above most of the other games that I played.
Fair enough.
I mean, Destiny 2 wasn't bad either, though. Let's be real. Destiny, they did a good job with the voice acting of the one guy, the black guy from The Wire, and
that is
the other guy from Castle.
Don't know who that is either. Oh, Nathan Fillion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's in all the other sci-fi stuff that people love so much.
Yeah.
Isn't Zavala's voice actor? Isn't he the same voice actor for Silence from Horizon Zero Dawn?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just looked him up the other day and I don't remember his name.
If someone said it, I would probably be like, oh yeah, but
like,
I'm never.
There it is. Yeah. Anyway, let us know, dear listeners.
Know more from TV shows and stuff like that than I do from actual video games. But he's getting really big in the video. I mean, when you have Destiny and Horizon Zero Dawn,
he was
no joke.
He was in Quantum Break also.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. I never played it.
Cool. My pick, and this is a game I don't have to finish to be like, wow, this is fantastic. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Freaking amazing. Just so good. So good. There it is. Any other awards there?
I mean, they gave stuff like most Skyrim game. Overrated game award. That was some shade. I mean, the Charles again said best app for tracking your game collection.
How long
Jesse Knopp. Yeah, Jesse Knopp said how long to beat. Of course. What else could there be? Some people, I'm trying to think. I was like trying to legit get good at questions, and it got hijacked real fast.
Oh, I'm sure. That's how we do.
Real fast. So Simon Findrit said best game to cause TRG to implement a Sunday closure. Battlefront.
Witcher 3 easily.
Yeah. There's so many topics, not even let alone games, just topics
I know.
But the last one that we'll actually do, I think is a good one. So Dark Horse Game of the Year. So the least known game that you really enjoyed.
Oh.
Maybe not. May not be the least known, but kind of like
underrated under the radar.
Yeah, underrated. Yeah.
Oh, I've got one right out of the gate for that one. You're not just waiting on me, are you?
I was. I didn't know what was going on.
I thought you got disconnected.
I heard the mic moving. You're like, I got one right out the gate, and then you never said anything.
I was waiting for you to be like, oh, okay, go ahead. Oh, man. All right, let me write this timestamp down, and I'll put that in.
Or you should leave that in, but not make the break as long. Or you can leave the whole break in. This is kind of funny. This is how we do.
Oh, man. My pick is going to be Nex Machina from Housemarque Studios, a little arcade shooter they put out over the summer, right before Matterfall came out in the fall. Dude, so much fun. I know not a lot of people played the game because Housemarque made a post about how Nex Machina and Matterfall didn't sell well, so they're going to move on to a different genre of game. But dude, it was so much fun. Really, really cool game.
I had an answer, but I think I'm going to change mine here on the fly. I had ukulele because I think a lot of people have forgot about it or overlooked it. But again, that is a great game to get for the Switch. Your kids will like watching it. If you have kids, it's a great pick up and play. But I'm actually going to change to, again, not a ton of sports fans in the room or in the listening base, but a game that I really enjoyed and I remember looking at, I think I played like 25 plus hours of this, which kind of blew my mind. But NBA Playgrounds on the Nintendo Switch. It's like an old school NBA Jam game. If you're looking for a little, I played it actually the other day in the lobby with one of my buddies. We're like sitting there staring at this little 7-inch screen, crouched over with the Joy-Cons in each hand. Just it was a great game for that time. I didn't have a lot of Switch games to play. I mean, I got ranked pretty highly on the game on the online servers, and so, but a really fun arcade basketball game. And so, if you're looking for something to play multiplayer on the go, it's a good one to get.
Yeah, man. Right on. All right, dear listeners.
That's all I got.
What?
Sorry, that was all I had for my categories.
Okay. Dear listeners, we've arrived at the coveted, actually renowned for good reason, Game of the Year, the TRG Game of the Year award. Adam, good sir, what game gets it?
A lot of good options. Again, we've been talking about it kind of throughout the show. A lot of really good games in 2017. I mean, I'm just going to list off some of the great ones. Of course, you've got Mario Odyssey, Mario plus Rabbids, Kingdom Battle. You've got Persona 5. You have Horizon Zero Dawn. You've got Zelda Breath of the Wild. Let me see if there's anything else here. I mean, Splatoon 2 was a great game. I'm not even joking in that one. I played a lot of Splatoon 2 when it came out. I played like 30 hours or something of that game. I mean, Middle Earth Shadow of War is really good. Like, is it Game of the Year? By no means, but that game was really, that's a solid game. Someone said it's the best Assassin's Creed game out there.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and then you hear of games that I haven't played that I'd like to play: Nier Automata, Neo, Assassin's Creed Origins, Metroid: Samus Returns. Are there any other games that we're missing for just really good games this year?
I'm sure we're missing. There were so many good games that came out this year.
Wolfenstein 2, again, I've got it, but I haven't even played it. So there's just so many really good games. But for me, the game that I keep going back to the game was just special. And it's Breath of the Wild.
Wow.
It's just, I kept coming back to it. I mean, I think I put 75 to 80 hours into it. I didn't ever get the DLC, but when I went back because I'm like, I'm not going to buy the DLC until I finished everything. Yeah. Like, why buy more if I haven't done everything that's there? And I went back and put another 10 to 15 hours in and still didn't finish everything. Yeah. There's the stories that we told each other playing it, not the stories that the game told us, but like, hey, like, what did you do first? Like, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you been to this place? Have you done this challenge? Have you been to this shrine? So many moments that were just iconic, and the different characters that they would bring in. Yeah, there's nostalgia in there, but who cares? The game was great. Yeah. The combat, the way that they did a lot of the RPG elements, the in-game stuff after you could beat the story in no time, but there's still so many things that you could do. It's, again, Mario Odyssey, really good. My runner-up would probably be Horizon Zero Dawn. That game was, again, those games came out right at the same time, so I was like comparing them pretty constantly. Like, yeah, Horizon looks better, but there was just so much about Breath of the Wild that gripped me that it has to be it's the best Zelda that's ever been made, in my opinion. Yeah. It's better than Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, Link Between Worlds, Link to the Past. It is the perennial Legend of Zelda game, and in my opinion, the best game on the Switch by far.
Yeah, man. Well, Adam, good sir. Before I get to my pick, I would just like to pull up the fact that one of our admins, Bob, posted a poll in the group asking people what is their game of the year. By over 40 votes, Breath of the Wild took first place. Roughly over 20 votes, Horizon got second place. And then a little around 5 to 8 votes, Persona 5. So that's in the group. And for me, I agree with all of those. All three of those games are Game of the Year material in their own right. However, Adam, again, I'm going to go along with you, man. Breath of the Wild gets my Game of the Year pick. It's just, I mean, it's the game that when I look out between Breath of the Wild and Horizon Zero Dawn, I've gone back to Breath of the Wild more than I have Horizon. It's just, the great thing about Breath of the Wild is that it seems like every single time you boot the game up, and I know I've said this in previous episodes, every time you boot that game up, you always come across something new. You're like, this was here? Okay, I haven't seen this enemy before. Okay, this is a brand new sword. I didn't even know this was in the game, you know? It just, the shrines, the different puzzles that they have in some of them are really challenging, but really smart. The world that it takes place in is interesting to explore, as is Horizons. But I just found myself spending way more time with Breath of the Wild. That it's a game that I'm still playing today. Part of it is because of the DLC. The other part is because I'm still trying to find all of the shrines, you know? And so, fantastic game.
And not to, like, I think of like a lot of people like with Mario Odyssey, like I really enjoyed Mario Odyssey and I don't want to like not give it its due, but I haven't really got to discuss too much of Mario Odyssey. But my biggest issue with Mario Odyssey, while there's so much in-game stuff, like there's almost too much. It's like we didn't need the cheap moons. Now, a lot of people would say like those are good for kids, and that's fine. Again, I don't want to beat that down too much, but there was almost too much, like the 128 in Mario 64 of stars that you could get, like just really 999 moons.
That's a lot.
I know some people have got them, but I'm like, that seems. I've got like 300, I think I've got 401. But to think that I'm not even halfway there. There was almost an oversaturation of moons for me. So while I'll definitely go back and play it, and it's a real, like, I love Mario games and I love the Mario 64 style, it didn't grab me by any means. I mean, Zelda hooked me in a way that games haven't hooked me in a long time. Or maybe even ever. Like, it hooked me that much, and Mario never really hooked me. I think Horizon even hooked me more than Zelda did. Or than Mario.
Yeah. And I know some of our dear listeners are probably like, wait a minute, Logan didn't pick Persona 5 for Game of the Year? And here's why. And it goes along with your point, Adam, of games having too much in them. Don't get me wrong. I think Persona 5 story, save for the ending, is great. However, I think it's way too long. 100 hours just to get through the story is excessive. You know, if they would have rounded it out, and they could have cut out some things. I remember some very specific things, which we'll get into later on in our episode on Persona 5 next year. Some things that they could have just cut out, that they didn't even need to put in, or maybe they could have shortened, and it would have been a better experience. But 100 hours. Way too long to the point where I don't want to play through it again, because I don't want to put another 100 hours into it, you know? So
give it 6 months.
I've given it that time and I'm still like, no, I don't know. That's okay. But, I will say this, because I remember something that a dear listener, Supreme, and host of the So Talk to Me podcast, Josh Broccolo, Breath of the Wild wound up becoming my Game of the Year, man. So there you go. But yeah, dear listeners, let us know what your picks are for some of these awards. Let us know on Twitter at TRG Podcast, in the Facebook group, or in the comments section on YouTube, because we're now on YouTube. So I think there's my best surprise, getting onto YouTube. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, dear listeners, thank you. Honestly, the real MVP award goes to you, the dear listeners, for supporting us this year, hanging out with the show, encouraging us, praying for us, and just loving on us when we just needed it. And look forward. Just wait for 2018. Gonna be some cool things in store. Just going to say that. But before we let you go, some recos, dear listeners. Adam, good sir, what should our dear listeners do before 2017 comes to a close?
Couple things again. I don't like to recommend things unless I've finished them. So now that I've finished a couple things again, I talked about earlier. Check out, if you like Puritan stuff, check out some John Owen. You can get the like abridged, updated version, John Piper forward. That's pretty good. It's a nice meaty book. It'll take you all year to read it. That's a game. That's something I would recommend. And then again, we've been talking about, but I finally finished Persona 5. If you like JRPGs, or even if you don't, it's worth checking out. Just another game that I would recommend.
And that's coming from a guy who didn't play JRPGs before.
I had never played a JRPG until Logan talked me into it when I got on this podcast.
He's never looked back.
Now I've beat like 4 of them.
There
now,
you go,
which is
man.
Crazy. My wife likes me a little bit more every time I play a JRPG, and I still play them. And so she's like, "Why are you playing these stupid anime games?" I'm like, "Get off my back!"
It's like, why don't you play one? Join me.
Yeah.
Treat yourself. So as far as my recos go, well, I mean, of course, subscribe to us on YouTube. You know, we're actually, as of this recording, we're three spots away from getting 100 subscribers, and once we hit 100 subscribers, we can actually have a custom YouTube link. So that will be a lot easier for folks to share around with their friends and family. So subscribe to us on YouTube. I mean, you've got some time before 2017 ends. Why not read a book of some sort? You know, Adam gave some good recos. I'll throw out Blood, Sweat, and Pixels again. You know, play some of the games that we gave awards to. Try some of those games out. You know, that's really all I can think of. Really, I guess the main thing is just kind of love on your families during this time, even if they get on your nerves. You know, it's that time of the year that, like, it's easy to get wrapped up in buying things and busy with schedules and all that jazz. Just take some time out to just love on people in your church, love on your family, love on your pastor. Even just use this time to just love on people. You know what I'm saying? Just kind of go from there. You know, but yeah, dear listeners. Again, thank you for hanging out with us on TRG. We will return in 2018 with a slew of new episodes, new YouTube content, and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at TRG Podcast. You can join the Facebook group. Please answer the questions when you request to join. There are only 3, and they're not super difficult. And then also, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. Just hitting the little bell icon after you subscribe, so that way you will always be notified of a new episode or new piece of content we put up. And for show notes, you can always head over to the reformgamers.wordpress.com and check out our backlog of episodes there or on YouTube. For those that left us iTunes reviews and things of that nature on iTunes this year, I think I just repeated myself. Anyway, words are hard. Had to get a final one out before 2017 ends. Thank you for your reviews and things of that nature. We are also on the Google Play Store, so if you're listening to us there or any other podcast catcher that we managed to get pushed out to in 2017, thank you for listening. Enjoy. Thank you for being...
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And until next year, GG and amen.